I had been acting since my childhood, and I gave autographs since I was 17 years old.
Hi Adil.
Hello, G.
So thank you so much first of all for doing this, and I wanted to not only thank you for doing this but also let you know you're the first person to do this, which is a new chapter of Popcorn Pixel, which is in Candid Conversation.
Oh, really?
So thank you so much once again.
Pleasure.
So I was prepping for this interview and I found a couple of things online, obviously, and came to know a lot of things which I generally did not know about your work. Starting from the fact that you studied in the drama studio in London, and also your first, I think, debut film was a Bengali film in 2004.
Well, not really.
Not really.
Yeah.
Which is why I'm not relying on the online sources, and I would prefer actually having this chat with you so I can hear it from you. But coming to, I think, your journey, what was interesting for me was that you've done a lot of different kinds of work, but for me as a viewer, I think where you stuck out the most was A, Life of Pi, and B, English to English, and that's where I was like, okay, I know there's a new actor in Bollywood, and a lot of people also started recognizing you. But for you, was there any moment where you were like, Arey, I've arrived now? Or has there been, or do you think there will be?
Well, I had been acting since my childhood, and I gave autographs since I was 17 years old.
Okay.
In Assam.
Okay.
And it doesn't matter where the recognition comes from, because recognition is recognition. Well, when it comes from a larger body of people, it feels a bit different. And when it also comes from the places where you would like to be recognized, like people, those who really appreciate finer version of acting, like my teachers, for example. So when my teachers recognize me for my work, I feel okay, I've done something. And we have done, and all these people are praising Adil is a good actor, or whatever actor he is, and when the teacher says, oh, it was okay. So then you know that, okay, it's not yet.
You have to work harder.
Work harder. And Shakespeare says the same thing. He says that 300 people are saying, because 300 he meant because audience numbers those days in theatre, not more than 300 people. So if 300 people are saying that you were good, but one person who knows what acting is all about says, then you should take his advice and not the praise of the 300 people. Yes, it is nice to be praised, it boosts your ego and all that nonsense. But I have 3 or 4 of my teachers who I completely trust. Like I just went and showed my film Mukti Bhavan to my teacher in Pondicherry.
Okay.
And he appreciated it a lot, but he also gave the criticism of the scenes, which thankfully also matches with my criticism of my performance in Mukti Bhavan. He said, oh, okay, these are the parts that didn't work for me. It worked, but I'm saying the depth and the degree of engagement that I should have felt.
So you know how to improve yourself.
I have to know, otherwise I'm dead.
Yeah.
If you think you have arrived, you are gone. You are totally. I think you are dead.
Yeah.
Because that journey itself, for any artist, artist in a sense, for any practitioner of art, I think if truly you are seeking something, and your original intent of being in the practice of art, if that is clear, that it is an area where you cannot dive deep enough, then you never arrive. It's just a journey, and destination is ambiguous. And that's basically it. And I have to keep reminding myself that, because generally praises are extremely dangerous things. And when it comes from especially established praising community like critics, then it's more dangerous. Because you start believing in them. Of course you believe in them, but you stop. Like if that is my standard or that's it, then I'm done for.
Where do you go from there?
Exactly.
So how would you define yourself as an actor? Like a method actor? Do you switch on and off? How do you do that?
I used to be a very fanatic method actor.
Okay.
and not after NSD.
Okay.
But before NSD, I didn't know anything. I just acted thinking that this is what it is. You know. After NSD, I became a very fanatic method actor till very recently, till around 2010 or 11.
Okay.
Then something happened, which is a long story, so I don't think we should go there. From that particular sort of moment, I would say, is a very specific moment, which again happened in Pondicherry, in the presence of my teacher, one of my very revered teachers. And from there, I realized that, oh my God, in India we had a system which I always believed in, but never dared to practice because it is extremely, what do you call that? Difficult.
Okay.
It's almost like jumping from the cliff without any rope.
Okay.
And you die or you fly.
Which is another system or method of acting?
Which is a system which I would say, when I say Indian system, I'm not saying the Indian acting system, which is true because Natya Shastra gives us an amazing platform, sort of a foundation. But it's an Indian mystic system where you just hand over everything. It's almost like submission, but submission is surrender, but surrender is a very big word. I would say handing over.
Okay.
So I'm handing over this interview to whatever the forces there are, or all the forces about there, and you take responsibility of the words that I speak, but you are working not for a specific effect, but you are working and you're saying things from a space which is larger, which is not conditioned or less conditioned, and you are not looking for a reward or an award. And if that intent is fortified, and if that intent is sort of consolidated again and again, so in acting, that's what happened with me, that acting has stopped being a burden on my shoulder.
Okay.
I started enjoying the way I used to do before I came to National School of Drama.
Okay.
So I don't know whether what I spoke makes sense.
No, it does make sense.
It makes sense to me.
It makes sense to me as well. I mean, I'm kind of using whatever you're saying in my life as well,
Exactly.
and it makes sense from not just an acting point of view, but I think anything.
Anything,
for that matter.
exactly.
Whatever you do.
You cannot just suddenly practice that in acting unless you keep practicing in life.
It,
Exactly. Yes.
So on that thought itself, has there been a role that you've done where you felt that you surrendered all of it and it worked? Something that was very inspiring or challenging?
Yes, that's the role. It started on a stage play.
Okay.
In 2012.
Okay.
Or 11, I forgot exactly, but 2011, I guess, end of 2011. It's a play called Karnishtha, which is a concise version of Gita. The dialogue between Krishna and Arjuna. I played Arjuna, and my dear friend, mentor Dilip Shankar played Krishna. And I was totally, it happened in such a way that I had been rehearsing, but I had no idea at all how to play the role, and my director, co-actor, writer of the play, Dilip Shankar, he just never helped me. And he said, don't worry, it will happen. I still shiver. Don't worry, it will happen, it will work out. So finally we went with the play to Pondicherry, and so I realized, okay, I give up. Because there's no other way that I can do this play. Because nothing was fixed. I didn't know how to do the role properly. I had no idea what intensity Arjuna has to go to, depending vis-a-vis the magnitude of the stake that he's facing, whether he has to kill all these close people, including his great-grandfather and his guru and all that. How do I play that role? I had no idea. And as I said, my co-actor, director, writer and mentor of Dilip ji was telling me, that will happen. And I never, ever in my life did a play or a film where I don't know what to do.
That's a
Here I had no idea what to do. So I went to the stage and I realized, okay Adil, this is the time, you give up and you fall and bleed or you fly. And thankfully, I wouldn't say I flew, I was flown.
Okay.
And it took me to spaces where I've never been within myself and outside. And I realized, oh my God, this is how you should do. But it is so dangerous and scary because it's totally an unknown territory within yourself, especially in a place where audience is there and live or even camera, because people will watch you and judge you. So that's the fear I had. I could not till then think of like, oh my God, audience will think of me what? He is such a mediocre. I have problems with mediocrity and I have problems with inefficiency. It's like I'm allergic to it. Less now. So that's a judgment. So I'm trying to work hard to get rid of it. That every effort must be praised, not highly praised, but must be encouraged.
Yeah.
Also by new actors, or any artist, or my son, he's making an effort. I'm like, that's not good. But my wife, he says, no, he did it.
Acknowledge it.
Acknowledge it. Yes, it's good enough. Now you can do better. So I think that's my huge problem. That I'm allergic. I had been like, oh God, you shouldn't even. So my point is, don't cook. Don't invite people unless you know how to cook. So I guess I have to sort of relax in those areas within me, and that particular performance made me sort of believe in that. And also my teacher who told me a year ago that don't try to be good, or don't try to be brilliant, just try to be true.
Yeah.
And truth is beautiful. And that is whatever you call divine.
Yeah, that's interesting because I think it was Vidya Balan a couple of years ago who said something similar where she was going through a period where she was like, I'm doing so much, I'm doing so many things, but nothing is clicking within her. And I think the same piece of advice was given to her, don't try to be good, just to go with your heart and just do it. Yeah. So now realizing all of this and experiencing so many kinds of work or body of work, etc., what is now your thought process of selecting projects?
Iteration. Mostly it is about, first I read the script, of course, and if it makes it makes sense that something, like I'm about to start a film from the 20th of this month, and it's very difficult role, and I have no idea how to do it because I've never done something like that. I've never experienced in my life something like that. So I'm reading. I just finished reading the script a few times, and yesterday I finished again, and I'm like, oh my God. So then I following my my instructions from my teacher and from my experience, I said, okay, you better not know how to do it. It'll happen. So so that's basically the process that I'm following also in life. If I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, and I mean, of course, you call me, we fixed an interview, but I don't know what questions you'll ask me, and I haven't thought about it. I didn't ask you, and so whatever is happening now is
in the moment.
This what it is,
So coming back to just acting, for example, I've grown up in the 90s with the masala movies around, and I actually really love that. As an evolved audience, I'm also evolving, content is also evolving, but do you see Bollywood films, although there are a lot of experimental content being out there, they're not commercially successful. Are you content with the way Bollywood films are existing now, and or the roles that are being offered to you?
Well, I guess we have to make this concession. The way we were, we are much better. But when you look at the world cinema, then you feel a bit deprived, you feel a bit frustrated that why can't I be part of a great writing, a great script. When you see amazing work is being done by younger people, older people across the globe. When I see a Japanese film, when I see a Russian film or a Scandinavian film, Iranian film for that matter, in a country which is extremely ruled and suppressed by their regime. then you feel that in spite of we making how many films, 2,500 films a year,
Probably.
maybe you can count one or two which make sense to you.
Yeah.
You know, or maybe if you're lucky, mainstream wise, if you're lucky, maybe three. So, which is extremely poor, number, and I wish that we could have done better. I think the system in place and also the kind of films that we have been sort of churning out from Bollywood, which created the audience also. Because see, art for me is something that you have to slowly acquire. It's an acquired taste to appreciate finer things in life. That's how the parents guide their children. You know, if you love sweet, you keep eating sweet, you'll be suffering from diabetes. So, you know, so how do you guide? So art or practitioner of art, a different discipline of arts, they are the, not parent, but they could play the role of a guiding force to create or to help evolve the consciousness of a society.
True.
So that's the role art had been playing and should play. But for some reason we haven't been able to, and fine art always had been patronized by the government, by the royalties, always, because they take responsibility. There are people, those who will not be able to appreciate, but how can we sort of help them to find a way to see things which are subtle, which is not easily detectable through your naked eyes, but somebody does detect, and how can I make you or the other person to see that look, there is something, there's a painting on white and there's a design on white, by white on white. How do you see that? That's the role art should play. And but the government have totally backed out in a way since our beginning of our independence. The amount of money that government should have spent, money, and also the way the money is actually spent in the grassroots, that is not corrupt, it's not being wasted by just do teen char dance kar lo bhai, ek ye kar lo, and art ho gaya. But it should be put into the mainstream education system, and it should be treated as importantly as you treat maths or physics or mathematics or languages, so that the evolution process, inner evolution of a human being, in order to appreciate the life they lead, the subtle aspects of relationships within oneself, between the other and the society and universe at large. So that we haven't done at all.
True. I think you're also referring to the new independent film, which was Village
Rockstar, for example. That Village Rockstar, Reema Das. So yesterday I was talking to her, and then I mentioned that I just read an article day before yesterday, said that Assam government has given 1 crore, but also deducting 30% tax.
Okay.
So I was like, really? I mean, you're left with 67,000 lakhs of rupees. And I know for sure that we need at least 3 to 5 crores. 5 crores, I would say. Because the amount of people that you have to find a way to bring them to watch the voters, 3,000 voters. They will not come in one go. You have to keep hiring spaces. You have to create a buzz so that when you invite them to come, they would come to make, that they would want to come. If they haven't heard of the film, unless there is a buzz around the film. And to create a buzz, you have to hire a PR agency in order to talk about it in the media and social media and all these places. So I think, so we generally, that's what my reading is so far, that governments, all governments, state, central, since independence, they do not either understand the role of art, or we had been choosing wrong leaders, or they don't give a damn. So the combination of three basically. Otherwise, we imagine the kind of artistic activities that we had been doing. We, in a sense, India, since the time immemorial, the richness that we have. 2,500 years ago, in 2700 AD, BC, we wrote Natyashastra to tell the world how to act. I mean, imagine.
It's a birth root, like
and
birth
3,500 years old form, which is called Kudiyattam, which is being practiced still in Kerala. And so many hundreds and thousands of forms that we have, folk forms, classical forms. If we do not lead the world, you know, we don't have to lead the world making all these malls and you know, and we have seen what happens to the planet if we do that. America is one of the greatest example of the kind of, what do you call that, development, the kind of development that we are looking for, where it leads the people. Every third person in America needs a psychiatrist. I mean, are we dreaming about that? Reaching that, the material wealth will give us happiness. I mean, this is crazy according to me. So what I think is that we must find a way to choose leaders who would understand the value of art and can lead the world, because we have the wisdom, we have the know-how, we have the form and the skills as well to develop India as an artistic destination of the world. So that the values, the human values, which are the most difficult and subtle values like compassion and appreciation of beauty and love and respect and empathy, these are the finer elements of human beings. If we don't practice and appreciate and flourish and nourish them, then I don't know how civilized, why are we called civilized nation in the first place?
We're still civilizing, I think. It's in a process.
Yeah, human being.
Yes.
So being is present continuous tense.
Yeah. So since you've not only worked in India, i.e. Bollywood films, but within India as well, I think you keep experimenting a lot. You have a lot of short films, you have a lot of films specifically for festivals, etc. And ergo, you do a lot of different kinds of roles, etc. Not just in India, outside of India. Do you see a difference in the style of working from here versus other places? Yeah,
I don't think, well, there's a fundamental difference between, I keep saying that also, that there's a sort of an chalta hai attitude. And that comes from a very innocent place, I believe, that it's okay,
ho jayega.
You know, ho jayega, itna bhi kya hai. But also the dangerous aspect, downside to that is that we end up making something which is very mediocre. The upside to the attitude which I see in Europe or in other parts of the world is that must you know, reach that benchmark that which we have set for ourselves, and otherwise it's not done. And that fanatic attitude also becomes irritating, and
but somewhere it's required.
But it's required. I appreciate it very much, but I have slowly started learning how to appreciate the other aspect also. But I think we have to come somewhere in between. You know, that if you let go and yet you try your best and little bit more to reach that benchmark that you've set for yourself. But we let go very easily. That's the difference, I would say. Fundamental difference.
Agreed. So, okay, I'm just going to go back to a little bit of what we discussed in terms of acting and how you came into the whole business of acting. 90s kid, as I mentioned. So my idea of a hero has always been a Shah Rukh or a Salman dancing around, fighting villains. Did you ever think you want to do that? Be a quintessential Bollywood hero?
Yeah, I thought when I was a kid. Kid in a sense like in my teenage.
Okay.
And every teenager is buzzing with their hormones and, you know, get to meet the most beautiful girl. Hema Malini was my dream girl.
Okay.
Dharmendra, I was envious of him, that how come he get to dance with Hema and not me. And Bachchan Saab was my angry Indian hero who can demolish all corruption and all that. Unfortunately, that didn't never happen. And so I had that, but then I ended up watching my first Western film, if I may say, not Western, but Western.
Got it.
It's called Papillon. Papillon means butterfly in French, and the cast was Dustin Hoffman and Steve McQueen, and I was totally awed. I thought that these are not actors, these are actual people. They have picked up from the street
Put it in front of camera.
And put it in front of the camera. And in those days, unfortunately, we didn't have any Google Baba, so I had to go around and find out what is the name of this person, miss the name casting, and we are not in the habit of reading name casting in India, by the way.
Acha, really?
हाँ,
Okay.
शुरू में करते हैं, आखिर में जो the
You
credit
forget.
title we
Got
don't.
it. Yeah.
So I don't know who to ask, who would know, and finally I found one or two people who said, "Oh, this guy is called Dustin Hoffman," and later I saw his Rainmaker and Kramer versus Kramer, and I was like,
Yeah, acting it.
this is what I would like to be. This
Yeah.
is an actor that which inspires me, and I would like to become one of those kind. So that changed my perspective from trying to dance around the trees, which is fantastic. I thought it was fun.
Yeah.
And
Fighting
but somehow
villains
I
and all
felt that the kind of roles our Indian actors had been offered, which is also very for me, I felt it was not helping forget about them, but I would prefer that I would try to explore the different personalities that I have. Because I have never seen very few Indian actors so far in my life who had explored different characters. They're the same, so they would bend the character according to their personality.
Yeah.
We call them personality actors.
Yeah.
And there are actors, that's very few in the world, and in India even fewer, who change their personality according to the need of the character. Those are called character actors, not because those are older and not heroes. Those character actors can be the lead actor of the film.
True.
So I wanted to be, so that's my inner inclination. There's nothing wrong or right about both the choices they can make. So that sort of changed my perspective, that I would like to explore and try finding a way how to go completely away from the Adil towards, if not fully, but at least tilt towards the role that I'm playing. So that inspired me a lot, and that's how
This happened.
I'm trying to do that. Yeah.
Nice. So we know you're a good actor. Not a lot of people know you're also a good cook. You're a chef, and thankfully I had the privilege of actually eating something you cooked up. But very few people, I think, know that you also did some stand-up comedy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So any plans of revisiting that career path in the future?
I think I was by default a stand-up comedian. Not really, because I used to do since my childhood, and my mentor, when I became a professional stand-up comedian, I was in a group of 4, and I was the youngest one. So we had a mentor who three of the members were senior to me, and they all unfortunately passed away in a car crash. And so I think he was the brain behind, and somehow I feel that I do not have that inclination to create, or maybe I have not explored. I came into this so-called serious theatre acting, and fell in love with theatre, fell out of, falling out of love for cinema. I fell in love with theatre. And so I never thought about it, that I would be exploring that. I don't think so.
No?
I don't think so, no.
But comedy is growing.
I could play a role of a stand-up comedian for like maybe a few months, I don't mind.
Okay.
But I don't think that's my calling.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so what's next in terms of work for you?
In terms of projects?
Yes.
I'm doing a film called Nirvana which I just said that I'm starting to shoot from the 25th of October. And after that I start again one more film, unfortunately from the 25th of November, but they want to make an official announcement. But with a very famous Indian director, who made a lot of films, and so starting to shoot in Ranchi, that much I can tell you, from the 25th of November till the end of December. Then I'm doing another film with the producers of Mukti Bhavan, which will start from end of Jan or February. And there are a lot of other series, Netflix and all that. We
Okay.
are talking depending upon how much time I would like to spend with my son and wife. And how many days I would like to stay outside of the house. So all these balances have to be, sort of looked at.
Sounds good. Sounds like you have a busy year ahead then.
I do, yeah.
Well, that's it. Thank you so much.
Pleasure. Hello, my name is Adil Hussain, and if you have liked this conversation with Nidhi, please do share and subscribe this Popcorn Pixel. There are lots of Candid Conversation coming up soon for you, so keep an eye for it. Thank you.